What is up, comic fans? Welcome to the Legion of Comics. I'm Mark, and today we're here to look at 10 forgotten teams in comic books. With the Titans just releasing a brand new Avengers starting, it made me think there's a lot of teams over the years that we just don't see anymore. So let's take a minute, let's look back through comic history and see what some of those are. But first, check this out. All right, I really appreciate it if you go ahead and hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Consider becoming a channel member. All that stuff helps the eternal battle against the YouTube algorithm to get the content out to more people to enjoy, or you can always just share the video directly with friends, families, and whoever's if you think they might be interested to learn about 10 forgotten teams in comic book history. So let's go ahead and get into it because there are 10 of them, and I'm not trying to keep everybody all day. So we're going to kick it off with the team that you might have heard of, you might not have heard of. I know probably not too many people these days have heard of them, but the old heads definitely know, and that's none other than Power Pack from Marvel Comics. It first premiered in August of 1984 inside of the pages of Power Pack issue number 1. This came from a time era when Marvel wanted their editors actually creating comic books, so Louise Simonson got the bright idea to put together the very first preteen superhero team. They were a band of siblings getting together with superpowers to fight crimes, and they all shared the same last name of Power, hence the name Power Pack. They even had a pilot television episode created. It never came to fruition, but you can go on YouTube right here, look it up, and watch it and cringe along with everybody else in the comment sections. Be sure to check out if you're looking to pick this book up. It's super available. You can spend about $10 and score you a high grade copy, and just for a few more dollars, you can already buy one that's already graded. Next up on the list, this one's going back a little bit in time, and it's kind of a joke in itself. It's from Showcase issue number 62, and the team is the Inferior 5. Now, back in the day, in May of 1966 is when they premiered, and back in the 60s, everything was quirky and goofy, everything. And this was no exception. The Inferior 5 was a parody of the JLA, and they were the children of the team called the Freedom Brigade. They ran for a few issues inside of the pages of Showcase, first premiering in issue number 62. Now, you can pick up about a mid-grade raw copy of this one for $30 and check out those other issues of Showcase nearby to catch some other stories where they parody even Marvel characters such as the Hulk. Now, the next one is when we get into some more serious one. And we're going with Archie Comics. That's right, Archie Comics, Riverdale, Archie, Jughead. They actually had a whole crew of superheroes back in the day. And their superhero team was called the Mighty Crusaders. In May of 1965, the Mighty Crusaders first got together inside of the pages of Flyman, issue number 31, created by Jerry Siegel. That's right, Jerry Siegel, co-creator of Superman, and Paul Reinman. These heroes came together due to a villain's plot, and they realized how well they worked together, so they stayed together. And after 3 issues of fighting side by side inside of the pages of Flyman, they came together in their own title, called the Mighty Crusaders. Now, you can pick up a copy of the Mighty Crusaders issue number 1 or Flyman 31 for anywhere between $10 to $40 in any grade. They're kind of all over the place. It's hit or miss. These characters are pretty much forgotten to history. Be sure to check out my video that I posted last Monday if you want some more in-depth detail on this patriotic character right there, the Shield, who predates Captain America. Next up is one that I know a lot of people will appreciate because I know they've been forgotten pretty much to the bigger comic community, but there are, again, old heads out there that will know most of these people, and then a couple of people inside of the community I hang out with here on YouTube that really know these characters. Shout out to Taylor Winder. Be sure to check out his channel for some cranky comic reviews. He's almost at that 1,000 milestone. But we're talking Challengers of the Unknown. First premiered February of 1957 inside of the pages of Showcase issue number 6. Now, this creative team attached to it is kind of up on the fence. It's credited to Jack Kirby for certain, but with help by either Dick Wood or Joe Simon. They're not really sure due to back in the day, a lot of stuff was just pumped out there and it really wasn't always kept up with like it should be. But this was a quartet of adventurers that explored paranormal occurrences while facing several fantastic menaces. Now, the word fantastic there is super important because it is rumored, and it's more than a rumor. It's pretty much a fact without them admitting it. This is where the idea for the Fantastic Four came from. There was a direct rip of the Challengers of the Unknown all the way down to one of the members being a hot-headed pilot, one of the members of the Challengers being named Rocky, like the Thing. This is pretty much where Jack Kirby just transferred over to Marvel and just kind of, put that into notion a few years later when Marvel Renaissance happened in the 60s. But it's a fantastic team there. They pop up once in a blue moon, and even in a joking way, like in the Teen Titans movie. But definitely check them out if you ever get an opportunity. Next up, and this one is a huge shout out to my pops. Couldn't make this list without adding the Thunder Agents, who first premiered in November of 1965 inside issue 1 of their self-titled comic published by Tower Comics. Creation is credited to Wally Wood and Lynn Brown. They are the Higher United Nations Defense Enforcement Reserves. That's what the acronym Thunder represents. And this was kind of special in the sense that this is the first time we saw like regular people acting as superheroes as if it were a job. They were just regular people, and this was their job to step in as superheroes for the government and fight robots, all kinds, just be superhero stuff. You can find a low-grade copy of this for roughly $30 if you look well enough. Fantastic piece of comic history here, the Thunder Agents. Next up, now this one was new to me completely. This is something that was off my radar. It's a team called First Line. They first appeared in March of 2000 inside of the pages of Marvel, The Lost Generation, issue number 12. Now, this series was only a 12-issue series. The number was done in reverse order, starting with number 12, ending with number 1. They retconned the gap in Marvel history from World War II until that Fantastic Four issue 1. So there's this big gap inside of their continuity where like nothing really happened. You had the Invaders and all of them fighting in the Golden Age with Captain America and all Submariner. And then Marvel kind of reinvents itself once we get to Fantastic Four and Spider-Man and X-Men and all that stuff. So this was a cool little mini series that they did in 2000, kind of filling in that gap where we get introduced to a laundry list of characters. Unfortunately, most of them are killed in the finale in their big fight against the Skrull. You can find a high-grade copy of this for $2, as it would be what is considered a dollar bin book. But I'm really looking at potentially picking up these 12 issues and just diving in. I think it would be a really interesting read. Those early 2000s were not highly praised for Marvel or DC. So it'd be kind of fun to revisit some of that stuff and see how it holds up right now. Next up, another team that you can't really do this list without is the Sea Devils, who first premiered in July of 1960 inside of the pages of Showcase issue number 27. If you're seeing a pattern here, you would be correct. Showcase boasted tons of random stuff throughout its run. You would get different characters, pretty much different issues and different team-ups, and they would create new characters for this title, apparently. And the created team behind this one is Robert Kallinger and Russ Heath. And it's a conventional non-superpower adventurers and undersea adventures. Now, it's pretty much the Challengers of the Unknown, but underwater, even so much so that they crisscross paths with the Challengers and the Unknown in their early adventures. Now, a low-grade copy of the first appearance of the Sea Devils is going to cost you at least $100 and up. This is not one that is just tossed around cheaply, apparently. Next up, I'm moving back over to Marvel in one of their kind of little books that changed out features with each title, and that's Marvel Premiere issue number 28 that featured the first appearance of the Legion of Monsters in February of 1976. Bill Mantlo, Frank Robbins, and Steve Gunn are credited with the creation on this one. And what we have here is Man-Thing, Morbius the Living Vampire, Werewolf by Night, and Ghost Rider all joining forces against a foe for an issue. They parted ways directly after this battle. So they all just kind of came together naturally, and just once they were all side by side against this villain, they just fought him, and then they left at the end of it. They didn't even address the fact that they fought as a team or a team aspect to it. It wouldn't be till later in comics when the little things here and there would kind of point back in history to this event and kind of remind us that we had this Legion of Monsters. There was also a magazine comic that was running at the time and around the time with the same title, not to be confused. In the past couple of years, this book right here has popped. For a low-grade copy, you're going to drop at least $80. And when you get graded and higher grade, it goes way up. But you can still catch you a copy for under $80. I love these hodgepodge teams like that. Now, if we're going to go way back in time, we're going to have to definitely address the 7 Soldiers of Victory. They first appeared in Leading Comics issue number 1 in the winter of 1941. Mort Weisinger and Mort Meskin created them, and this is the second superhero team to be created at DC Comics. Knowing that the Justice Society of America was the first, it's pretty much probably the second superhero team, period, if JSA is considered the first. Now, what was unique about this team was not only did it feature some characters that weren't necessarily as prominent as in other magazines, it was one of the first teams that featured sidekicks as actual members of their team. On this team, we had the Star-Spangled Kid, the Crimson Avenger, Green Arrow, Shining Knight, Vigilante, as well as Green Arrow sidekick Speedy, and the Crimson Avenger sidekick Wing. This is definitely one that it's sad to see isn't still rocking today. We do see little remnants of it pop up from time to time, like they'll be referenced inside of the pages of JSA, or there'll be a reference on the Stargirl television show of them. And of course, Green Arrow is pretty much an A-list character at DC Comics, but the rest of them just don't have the same draw. The Vigilante doesn't even really get published at all under that design anymore. We pretty much have that modern Adrian Chase Vigilante. But still, this one right here is a whale, coming in at $5,000 for a mid-grade copy. The one that I saw was a 5.5 CGC graded copy, and they're asking $5,000 plus fees, shipping, and tax. So this is no little book. 1941. And next up, and coming in at number 10 on the list, is none other than the first book that published under Image Comics when they created Youngblood. And no, not Youngblood issue number 1. And no, we're not talking Image Comics, but this is the team that has made the list. Little do people know they first appeared inside the pages of Megaton Explosion. No number to this. It was just a special created by Rob Liefeld. There's actually a one-ad page in the book called ROM number 1 right before this. And the Youngblood first appeared in June 1987 inside of this Who's Who type book where they had a story featured. And they're a high-profile super team sanctioned and overseen by the United States government. For this copy, for a high grade, you're going to drop at least $100. And that's for a raw copy. Now, it's weird that the Youngblood isn't as prominent as they once were, being that it is Image Comics' first team featuring characters like Chapel there on the far right with a skull face. That's the character who killed Al Simmons, who once dead came back to life as Spawn. So there's some notable characters that whose legacy live on beyond that, but the team itself, Youngblood, just isn't in the forefront anymore like they used to be. There is even a cartoon show that was developed, created, and never went to publication. So there's action figures out there. I remember them as a kid, but we just don't really see Youngblood rocking like they used to, though they do pop up, as do a lot of these characters, once in a blue moon. But I do want to take a second to ask everybody to leave me a comment down below. What are some of the super teams that you do not see around anymore that you might have enjoyed before, or after watching this, it might have made you think of some? I'm sure there's some on this list that most people will have seen or recognize or remember, but maybe the bigger comic industry has pretty much forgotten about them. I wonder why we don't see as much like that anymore. Why don't they take the opportunity to grab some of these older characters and bring them back to the forefront and see if a new generation would latch on to them and give them a second wind? Now, before we go out of here, I do want to thank today's sponsors. We have Big Time Collectibles. They sponsor the Legion Loot giveaway for the channel members. Be sure to hit that join button down below, become a member, and get in on the action, and check out BigTimeCollectibles.com and follow them on social media, and never miss out on the awesome drops they got coming. And if you need anything clean or pressed, hit up my friend Justin on Instagram. Let him know you found him via the channel. He runs special offers for viewers of the channel. And lastly, my local shop and local sponsor, ABX Comics and Books, newly relocated right up the street from me. Be sure to hit the links in my description to find any of the sponsors, as well as Pops Addict over on Instagram. And that's going to do it for today's video. I appreciate everybody watching. If you made it this far, don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Let's battle the YouTube algorithm. And until next time, as always, I'm Mark, but we are Legion.